joining it?
No, we're going to go live on Facebook momentarily. So what we're doing is we're recording this, and then Steve is going to take the audio portion and edit it and play it on the radio. So it's a twofer.
So people can see us now live on Facebook?
Yeah.
In rock Achad, or like Dhaka, right? Dhaka.
Odaka.
Not Odaka, right?
Odaka.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Are online? Do you have an indication how many people are online?
No, it's whoever's going to be seen. Like, hold on a second. Uh-oh. Like
Yeah, there's a little delay. You got to turn yourself off.
I know. Hold on.
Do you have an indication how many people are?
Okay, got it. No, I don't, because for various reasons. So right now we're just streaming on my personal Facebook page, but in only a matter of moments, we're going to be sharing this on Radio Free Nachlaot's page, your page. So it's a combined audience of quite a few people to whom I would like to say at this present moment, welcome, 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 Baruch haba. It's day 9 of the Radio Free Nachlaot's 9 Days of Jerry, our 12th annual celebration of the life, the loves, the music, the memory, the legacy of Grateful Dead founder Jerry Garcia. His memory should be a blessing. Today's a special day. It's the August 9th. It's his solar yard site. Do we remember the actual Hebrew date? I can look in my handy dandy comprehensive Hebrew calendar, the most important book every Jew should own, by Arthur Spear. His memory should be for blessing.
Wow.
So this was 1995, right?
While you look that up, I want to say hello to Khen Sagol. Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
His name is Khen Rotem. It's not Khen Sagol, even though the label says Khen Sagol. That's a kind of a combination of your stage name and your real name.
Exactly.
But
it's just my handle on Zoom. It's okay.
I see. You put it together. Yeah. Anyway, so hello there. How are you?
Hi, I'm okay. I'm fine. We just had a very grateful weekend in the north of Israel, in Kibbutz Hagoshrim, which is, Upper Galilee, near the Jordan River. So we had a big party on Friday with live music, and we screened the Veneta Oregon concert, the Sunshine Daydream, on the big screen.
Wow.
And then we danced till, it went dark. So, yes, it's Grateful Music Israel, the NGO,
Did you perform?
No, there was another band. I performed in a little session on Saturday on the bank of the river, acoustic. But there was a band, and they did Dead songs, and a lot of fun. A couple hundred people.
Wow, that sounds great.
Yeah.
So Lorelai, when's the Hebrew date?
And it is the 13th of Chodesh Av is the Hebrew yard site.
Okay, well that's past. Here we are already. This is Rosh Chodesh Elul.
I know, right? Everybody. That's how far we are in the Jewish year already. It's crazy, folks.
Right. So it was just a couple of days before Tu B'Av that he died.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, see, I just remember August 9th. That was a sad day. It was a sad day. The same person that told me actually that Shlomo Carlebach died had been listening to the radio and called me at my office and told me that Jerry died. I couldn't believe. I was like in shock. I was really in shock.
I wasn't really deep into the dead at that time. I mean, I heard that he died, that Jerry Garcia died, but I just noted it, and I had no back then no real connection, emotional connection to it. Like I knew it happened, but only many years later I understood the size of the thing, the meaning of the thing.
How long after Jerry died did you start getting into the Grateful Dead?
Okay, so I was always aware of the death because I grew up in a kibbutz, and we used to listen to all rock records, and we used to have a lot of volunteers coming over from all over the world. So we used to listen to all sorts of stuff. So I mean, I knew a few songs, like Trucking, Casey Jones, maybe, um, and I could recognize the record covers, but I never really listened to them that deeply as I did with other bands, mainly of like the prog rock variety or Zappa or stuff like that. But I was aware of them. But only 14 years ago, I met my partner, uh, she's an Israeli that grew up in San Francisco, teenage years,
Uh-huh.
and she was in the Dead scene, and she's seen the Grateful Dead around 200 times, maybe, and Jerry a few dozens of times because she studied at Berkeley. So in the 80s. So then when we got together, she was constantly watching concerts, listening to CDs, listening to tapes. We got about 100 tapes and all. And in the beginning, I was maybe mocking her a bit. I was really into hip hop at that time, to rap and stuff like that, and progressive rock and whatever, and indie music. I said, well, what is this thing? What is this endless noodling? And there's nothing going on. She used to watch tapes of concerts, video, nothing. And she said, okay, start with the Jerry Garcia band, and let's work from there. Okay, so which is a good entry point,
Mhm.
because it's lighter, it's more groovy, funky, whatever. And then the rest is history. Started getting really deep into it, and a few years later, I started to translate
Right.
the
And
songs.
that's like an amazing project, the Promised Land project.
Yeah, yeah.
And you translated about, there it is, the
There it
Promised
is.
Land. Right.
Yeah.
And there's about, 22 songs on that album? 22
Yeah,
songs?
we started with 16. That was a CD. That was the initial album with, I think, 16 songs. And I keep adding. So you're counting. I keep recording and adding songs to the catalog. The last one was 2 or 3 months ago. I recorded Dire Wolf in Hebrew and The Monkey and the Engineer in Hebrew. And I
Oh,
put it
very
up
nice.
on our Bandcamp page, can be downloaded there. And along the way, every once in a while, I get inspired, like I did. Must Have Been the Roses, Mississippi Half Step, Brown Eyed Women, and so there's the CD, which is sold out. There's the vinyl album, which is nearly sold out. I have a few last copies, but people can download it digitally, and so I keep adding stuff. It's not frozen. It's not monolithic. It keeps it. It's alive. It's a living thing. It's a living project.
You're translating the canon. It's like the
I'm trying. Yeah.
Septuagint, Lahavdil.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I told Steve before when we met that the thing, the chokhmah, like the wisdom, is to know which songs to leave aside and not touch, and which song can actually be interpreted into Hebrew. Because some things are just, I don't think I can do justice to. But others, you look at it and immediately like now I'm working on, I don't know, Mr. Charlie or whatever. It's easy. It's easy to, it's flowing. If it's not flowing from the first minute, I leave it.
So I like that there's certain things that are lost in translation, and that goes in both ways. Like there's certain things you can't just explain to non-Hebrew speakers about certain Hebrew phrases or idioms.
Yes.
What do you find, like what comes to mind in the Grateful Dead's repertoire that's just like pretty much lost in translation, like phrases and
Yes,
ideas?
I mean, the stuff there is more abstract and free flowing. Let's say something like China Cat.
China Cat.
The English is is hardly intelligible, whatever you call it. So the English is hard to understand, maybe, to grasp. So the Hebrew will completely be lost. Obviously,
Right.
terrapin and stuff like that, and the more. But if I look at the song and I see that it's like built like a ballad or built like a blues, it can be done. Like stuff like Ripple and like Minglewood and like Friend of the Devil and
Well,
or,
the other night, my granddaughter was here and listening to Grateful Dead music, and then I
yeah.
played your version of the Loser,
Okay, yes.
and I mean, she's a Hebrew speaker. She was
Yeah.
she came here when she was a year old. I mean, she's an
Mm.
English speaker also, but she
Uh-huh.
listened to the Loser for like maybe a minute, and she says,
Yeah.
"Wow, this is such a sad song."
Yes.
But
Because
she got it like right away because it was in her language, and it just underscores the service you're doing to the Israelis so that they can actually know what the
thank you.
songs are about.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I think a few people. I don't want to be, too. I don't want to brag too much, really. But there's a few people that told me that their point of entry into the Dead is when they heard the Hebrew song first, and then it was way more accessible to them. Because also, we don't try to make things complex or complicated or duplicate the way they play. I play the song and it comes out according to which musicians and are playing at that time. Or, we don't try to like emulate the sound or the playing style deliberately.
Right, which is healthy.
So it's
That's
more
very
song based.
healthy.
What?
No, that's very healthy. Because I mean, even
Yeah,
in
I
the
always say even
various
when
years
yeah.
when I've had musical experiences over the years,
Yes.
the Dead do the Dead. I don't want to do the Dead.
Mhm.
But if there's a good song, well, you
Yes.
want to play a good song, and that's the beauty of a good song. That a number of
Yes.
people in a number of different styles can play that same song, and it's true to the song. And I
Yes,
think you're
and
very true to the songs.
yes. Yes, and also even when we go to the US, when I go to the US to perform, I always stress the point that we're not a cover band, we're not a tribute band. There are fabulous tribute and cover bands. I've seen some of them, great, but this is just another thing, and the thing is to do it in this language and to take it from there to here, and that's the thing. Not to try to copy the exact way it was played. Obviously, we stretch out when live. We stretch out a lot more,
When you play in America, you play in Hebrew, right? You sing the songs in Hebrew.
Yes, in
You
Hebrew.
don't have
Sometimes,
you don't have to translate them back to English.
sometimes I throw in like a verse in English or something. It depends who the crowd is. Like the last time I was in the US was in March 2020, a year and something ago.
Yeah.
And I was invited to perform at the APAC policy, a conference policy in Washington, D.C. And at
Wow.
APAC, yes. We did two shows at APAC, which is, it's quite a big convention. 18,000 people to be exact, and then me and Russ Gottlieb, who plays with me, we drove to New Jersey and we did a show in New Jersey, and then we did a few days later a show at the Village, New York. I flew home just 48 hours before lockdown.
Whoa.
So that was an experience.
Wow.
But I've been several times to the US with this, so so it's an experience. Yes.
Yeah. Are you connected with the guys from Deadgrass at all?
Yes. I mean, Russ, who plays banjo with me, he's from Deadgrass. Russell Gottlieb, from New Jersey, fabulous musician. And also, when we played a few years ago at Garcia's, at the Capitol Theater. We had C. Lansbaum playing with us, and also he also came to the last gig I did last year in the Village, and he played with me in Brooklyn. So yes, so Dead Grass, Soul Farm, the whole and Noah
Right.
Lerman, which you had on the show, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Played with me on several tours. So
It's one big family. It's wonderful.
Misha Ba, Baruch Haba.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're a good person and you know the songs, by all means, come and play. And obviously
Yeah.
Ami Yares, who started the project with me, and Ab Shailan, and a few others, who need to be mentioned.
So, are you playing in Israel these days? Do you have any gigs coming
Yeah,
up?
it's funny. I had this month. I had 2 shows. Things are picking up, and then things are closing down. So
I know.
we had a show. We did a show at the Jerusalem Botanical Gardens in Jerusalem, Givat Ram.
Very
The
nice.
botanical gardens of the university.
Right.
A 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we did a show in Rishon LeZion, in a pub, in a bar in Rishon LeZion. So that was really good, and a few things on the horizon. We'll see. If anybody wants us, we're there. I go anywhere.
I know it's very. I mean, Tracy. I'm sure you know Tracy.
Yes.
Shipley.
She was at a concert in Jerusalem. Sure.
So she's trying to put something together for after the Chagim, but we don't even know if it's going to let us play outside. Who knows? The government doesn't tell us till the last minute.
Yeah, but we're here. Our mission is to spread the music, and
right.
even during lockdowns, we had some very memorable outside shows, and in people's homes, and on roofs, and near rivers, and in fields. So we're doing what we can,
Right. We get creative. We
get
creative.
We get creative. Yeah. We get creative.
So let me ask you a question. Can you play a song for us?
Yeah. Okay, hang on a minute. I gotta get a guitar. Okay, so give me a minute, huh?
Okay, you got it.
All right. So let's do a commercial while we're waiting for Ken's guitar.
Okay. Yes, everybody. You like what you're listening to? You want to hear more of it? The guitar case is open. Please drop a few shekels into the guitar case.
Yes.
We're almost halfway to our goal.
I know, it's amazing, right?
So
want to thank
Nachlaot.
It's not the ideal setting, actually.
It's homegrown.
It's not the
it's
ideal
fine.
setting, but I can try it.
It's homegrown.
Okay, let's do this. ביום שבו נולדתי, אבא כבר ישב ובכה. היה עליי סימן ברור לא ניתן להכחשה. קין תפס את הבל ולשחק בקובייה. את האס החביא בכיס ולא חשב שנייה. Half step, Mississippi uptown. Hello baby, shalom, goodbye. שתי חצי כוס לחיי, להתראות לדחות שמיים. אני הולך. I didn't prepare to play, so I don't know if it's tuned, but that's the first verse of
Mississippi half step.
Yes,
I guess there's no way of translating Toodaloo into Hebrew, huh?
No. I had to leave
Lullaby.
Hang on. שרשרת וזוג הזיקים. תקשיב לשריקה, הקטרים עוברים. אתה יודע, תגמור בתוך הארון, לא תחזור אל הגליל היום. איש השיר על ראשי דרך, כשתחזור הביתה הייתה חמאה תימרה. אתה יודע, אמרתי כבר מזמן, תחזור הביתה אל הגולן. זה המקום הכי טוב בשבילי, בואי קחי אותי אל כפר הנשיא. So כפר הנשיא, yeah, it's a kibbutz in northern Israel. So once I got that,
It's wonderful.
That was the solution.
So the poster that's behind you that you were telling us about earlier, that was the playbill from the shows on Broadway.
Yeah.
You know, all the Broadway shows have a little magazine.
Yes.
Right. That was the cover of the playbill. Right. I remember I was fortunate enough to go to those shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
To those shows. Yeah,
give me 1 second. I'll put the guitar away.
Okay.
It's live radio on the video, live video radio, only here on Radio Free Nachlaot.
And there's Jerry looking over our shoulders.
That's right.
At all times.
At all times. Let's hope so. There we go.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay. So I wanted to ask you a question.
Yeah.
The audiences that you're playing for, are they like old hippies, or they are young people coming? Who are you playing for these days?
Look, when I play here, when I play in Israel, it's people that know the Grateful Dead. There are not that many in Israel. I have to keep explaining that to Americans, that they're virtually an unknown band, or were an unknown band in Israel in real time. Not many people have heard of them. Israelis. I'm not talking Americans, but no, I see all types of people. Some just curious, some are just getting into the thing. Some of them know the Dead. But I always tell people that in real time, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, no radio play here, no, like, people like my girlfriend who came back in the late 80s. So people like that felt alone up until a few years ago, before the advent of social media and Facebook and all that. They felt like they were alone in this country. And only in recent years, when they started to do gatherings and meetings, you see, okay, there are 500, 600, keeps growing steadily, but they were not a popular band in Israel in real time. There are more Grateful Dead fans in Israel now than 30 or 40 years ago. That's for sure.
And in America, the Grateful Dead didn't get a lot of radio play. They weren't played, and if they did get radio play, it was maybe Truckin' or Casey Jones. I mean, Ripple, but the FM stations more than not, but their audience grew because of their shows.
But they're a cultural phenomenon,
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So they turned into a cultural phenomenon, and here, quite a lot of the American bands were like missed here. You know what I mean? The audience missed them. In real time. I'm talking like the Allman Brothers, the band, Little Feat. All these bands. Marshall Tucker, even ZZ Top, like they were not played and they were not,
And
because
they probably never toured Israel either. They
no,
didn't have any
never.
motivation to come here,
Yeah, and I mean, Santana played,
Right.
but his appeal is wider. But and I have this theory that Israelis of a certain age, 40, 50, 60, they gravitated more towards British music rather than American.
That's what I'm
So
hearing. The more people I meet here, they
Yeah.
liked Yes, and they liked,
yes, Genesis, Pink
right,
Floyd,
right.
King Crimson, Jethro Tull, and then the Police and Dire Straits and the Cure, and the Smiths and all, and a lot of American bands sort of slipped, through the cracks,
Right.
even big ones, and country never is not a big thing here, never was. I'm not talking about like hits like Jolene. I'm talking about country music.
Right,
You ask
right.
Israelis who is Garth Brooks, who's Dwight Yoakam, who's Reba
They,
McEntire, who's Shania. It's like
they don't know.
no idea.
Huh. It's very
People know
interesting.
Dolly Parton, Johnny Cash, maybe Willie Nelson. They can identify him in a ID parade, but not
Interesting.
you know what I mean? Not the cat, like not no Hank Williams or Merle Haggard or these people. Virtually unknown. Never caught on here.
Interesting. Well,
So
they should listen to Radio Free Nachlaot. We play all
Yes,
those people. We
definitely.
mix them all up. So
Definitely, yeah.
try to turn people on to whatever we can, because it's all, when it boils down to it, it's all music, And
My parents had one country album that I grew on it. It was a Tennessee Ernie Ford, 16 tons and all the
Sure.
boogie stuff. That I grew up on this. I know every note and every word in every song. Really,
Wow.
Tennessee,
a lot.
boy, I haven't thought of him in a long time. Tennessee Ernie
Yes,
Williams.
yes,
Wow.
yes. Tennessee Ernie Ford. Yes, very good. Very
Tennessee
like a
Ernie Ford.
baritone,
Right.
mule
Whoa.
train, 16 tons and mule train, and the wild geese and
You should throw some of those songs into your show.
and shotgun boogie and blackberry boogie. I don't know why they had that one. So whatever your parents had, didn't have a lot of records. They were kibbutzniks, mind you. So not a lot of records in socialism, but they had what they had.
One record for everybody. You had to share
It
it.
used to be like that when they grew up. Yeah. I think my dad got expelled from school when they listened to Elvis on a transistor radio in like the showers or whatever they hid, and they listened Western American music. They were kids.
It's
I
so
mean,
It was not
decadent.
allowed. It was
Do your
not
par-
allowed.
Are your parents still alive? They're still in the world?
Yes, sure. Yeah.
So do they like what you're doing? They like your music?
With the dead, yes, I think so. They're not really like deep into it, but when they hear it, they say, "Oh, it's really nice." My mom, I've never heard of this band until I started. But she heard Friend of the Devil, she heard Rickle, she wow, pretty nice songs. I didn't think it would be. It's like country, it's like very gentle, it's like very, obviously, we don't play her the mad, dark stars, but yes,
Well,
because
so
she,
my
when I
daughter.
was a teenager, I used to play. Yeah.
No, we used
Yeah,
to
yeah.
play what?
Go on.
Finish your story. When you
I
were a
used to play
teenager.
my music very. I used to play my music very loud at home, small home, people small house. So, but my mom picked up on a few things that she did like
You,
Dan, and Queen, the more,
so she was
Zappa, she would tell
supportive.
me to tune it. Yeah, Zappa, she would tell me turn the stuff off. But
I got thrown off of a college radio station because I played a Zappa album. I mean,
Really?
it was a college radio station at We're All Bozos on this bus. We were something about on the bus. It was the radio station at Yeshiva University, and a friend of mine had a Sunday night show, and he couldn't do it for one semester, so I was doing it, and it was great. And then I decided one Sunday night to play that Frank Zappa album, and one of the counselors,
back to front, like from beginning to end.
the whole one entire side, and somebody in the administration decided to tune into the radio that night to see what was going on.
What album was it? Remember?
Something about a bus.
Don't make a fuss, just get on the bus.
Something, yeah.
Maybe Joe's Garage.
But it
Could
was
it be 79 maybe? Could it be? Or?
No, much earlier, because I was in college in 69, 70, and 71.
Okay.
So it was one of the really, I mean, it wasn't Freak Out. I didn't play Freak Out, which is the first one, but it was one of the second or the third album. I just
only in it for the money, maybe.
Maybe. Okay. But anyway, it was enough to get me in trouble. So my daughter, plays music to her kids. So my grandson was listening. She was playing Friend of the Devil, and he didn't understand like who's the devil, what's the friend of the devil. So I told her play the Hebrew version. He'll understand the words better. So she's been playing this stuff to them.
Exactly.
But he decided that he doesn't want to be the friend of the devil. like why would you want to be the friend of the devil? He's perplexed, but at least he understands what the song's about.
Well, speaking of which, we have a clip of that. Should we play it for the peoples who are watching right now?
Yes.
Lamalo.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on, folks. Here it comes.
נסתי מאילת 20 כלבים בעקבותיי, רק עם אור הבוקר עצמתי את עיניי, רץ ורץ ולוקח את הזמן, חבר שלי, חבר של השטן, אם מגיע הביתה לפני זריחה, אולי אתפוס עוד שעה שינה. השטן נתקל בי והלווה לי מטבעות, ביליתי את הלילה בכרמל במערות, רץ ורץ ולוקח את הזמן, חבר שלי, חבר של השטן, אם מגיע הביתה לפני זריחה, אולי אתפוס עוד שעה שינה. ירדתי לכנרת והוא חיכה לי שם, חטף את כל הכסף והופ הוא נעלם, רץ ורץ ולוקח את הזמן, חבר שלי, חבר של השטן, אם מגיע הביתה לפני זריחה, אולי אתפוס עוד שעה שינה. יש לי לבכות כל יום כל שעה, הראשונה זאת חנה לילדונת אהובה, השנייה זה בית הסוהר, שוטרים בעקבותיי, אם יתפסו אותי אשב בכלא כל חיי. יש אישה ברמלה ואחת בנהלל, אומרת שעשינו בן אבל הוא לא דומה לי כלל, רץ ורץ ולוקח את הזמן, חבר שלי, חבר של השטן, אם מגיע הביתה לפני זריחה, אולי אתפוס עוד שעה שינה. ילדונת אהובה. השנייה זה בית הסוהר, שוטרים בעקבותיי, אם יתפסו אותי אשב בכלא כל חיי. יש אישה ברמלה ואחת נהלל, אומרת שעשינו בין אבל הוא לא עונה לי כלל. רץ ורץ ולוקח את הזמן, חבר שלי, חבר של השטן, אם מגיע הביתה לפני זריחה, אולי אתפוס עוד שעה שינה.
Yeah.
I can judge how far along I'm coming in understanding Hebrew if I can listen
Yes.
to the words and understand what the song, not
Yes.
remembering what the words were, but if I can understand what they are.
Yes, I just
Yeah,
want
but
to say.
jail is sounded to me like Beit HaZohar, but that can't
No,
be
no.
right.
Yes, yes.
Sohar.
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 This-
The House of
yes.
Light. No.
No, not
it's not.
Zohar.
No,
No.
with a
So,
samach.
like Samach.
Samech and Hey, and also Eshev Bakele.
Canada. I love that. I
Which is
love
an-
that line.
Which is
Kele,
another
I've
word,
heard that.
prison. So jail
Right.
and prison, like Bet Sohar, Bet Kele.
Right. Beit Sohar is by the story of Yosef when he's thrown into the Beit Sohar.
Yes, exactly.
Egypt.
So I just wanted to say, I see on the Facebook feed that Jack Shechtman Gabriel asked about Pugi, about the Israeli band Pugi, also known in Israel as Kaveret, the Piha.
Right.
And
Sure.
he asked, were they big? So Jack, they were massive. They're the best and biggest Israeli band to have ever existed. I love them. As a kid, I used to listen to their records all the time. Their main songwriter was Danny Sanderson, whose parent is American, and he spent time his youth in New York. So a lot of influences, also probably from the Dead and the Allman Brothers. So yes, Poogie were massive.
Nothing was bigger than Poogie. Poogie was
Yes.
there's no comparison.
No comparison.
And I play them on Fridays in the Not for Kids Only
Very
program. On Fridays, I play them a lot. They're great. They're great. I mean,
Yeah, I play them to my American musician friends, and they get blown away because it's very, especially to American ears, it's bizarre, it's exciting, it's out of the ordinary. You know?
We saw them
my-
in 1974 when I was on my first trip to Israel on our confirmation Ulpan. We literally went to Tel Aviv and saw them in concert and I carried home on the airplane, the El Al airplane back to Los Angeles, my Poogie album in my
Yeah.
arms because I was afraid it was going to break in my suitcase. And I guarded it against, all comers there on that airplane. And I had it for years and years and years
המגפיים
and
של
years.
ברוך, המגפיים של ברוך, אני זוכר אותם מהמכולת, יויה, ילד
Yoya.
Oh, song. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, a lot of Zappa and influences.
Caliph Mystic.
Yeled Mystican.
Yeled, right.
Yes.
Love that. So, there was a band also Tammuz, which I really
Tammuz.
loved
Yes,
a little
yes.
bit later. And people
Yes.
would say Tammuz was like the Beatles of Israel during their time.
They were heavier. They only put out one album. They
Yeah.
were heavier. It was more. There's a very well-known Israeli producer called Louis Lahav.
Mm.
Louis Lahav. He was the engineer of Bruce Springsteen. He was the engineer on Born to Run on the album.
Whoa, really?
Louis Lahav, Israeli, and his
Yeah.
wife, Suki, Surya Lahav, played violin and sang backing vocals on Born to Run with the E Street Band. So
Right.
when he returned to Israel after producing Springsteen, he wanted to do like a Springsteen-esque type of production. So that was Tammuz, very big, very bold, very bright. So Tammuz had Shalom Chanoch
Yes.
and Ariel Zilber. They were like the main
Right.
figures there. So they put one brilliant album called Sof Onat HaTapuzim.
Sofonat Hatapazim.
Yeah.
I love that album. I
Yes,
played it forever and ever. I
And
still
Meir
play it on
Ariel,
the radio.
yeah. Meir Ariel wrote a lot of the lyrics.
It's wonderful, this whole history of music. And
Yes.
when you come,
Yeah.
I've discovered that coming from America, especially from the East Coast, probably the same as the West Coast. Americans and music is like anything that came from America, Canada, or Britain. That was music. And here in Israel, over the past number of years, especially with the incentive to try to keep things fresh on the radio, I'm discovering so much music from all over, especially like Mali and Senegal, and it's tremendous the amount of music that's being created all over the world. And every country has their favorites and has their personal, I guess, heroes or their personal stars.
Steve,
but it's just
I'm talking.
Yeah.
But even pre-internet, really, I'm not knocking Americans, but I'm saying, they don't know what's going on outside of, of their country. And like when you live in a place like here, we know Greek music, we know Turkish music, we're British, and a lot of French and Italian stuff. All of the Israeli pop of the 60s and 70s was like molded after like French and Italian stuff, British stuff. So it's not only, in America, a lot of Americans thought that, Oasis, the band Oasis?
Sure.
British band. A lot of Americans thought that I was a one-hit wonder. You know what I mean? So a lot of stuff didn't cross the ocean,
Right.
New wave
Right.
stuff, punk, new wave, they all wanted to make it big in the US, but if a band like the Kinks in the 60s didn't make it in the US, or maybe one song, Americans don't know the catalog, you know what I mean? Or other bands.
There are, once again, the Kinks became, I think, instead of the big popular, band like the Beatles, they became a acquired taste, and there are a lot of Kinks fans out there. But
exactly,
but radio also had the tendency to play the 2 or 3 songs that were the hits, and that's all they played. So they did it to Led Zeppelin, they did it to Pink Floyd, they did it to the Kinks. It's chaval.
I have to inject here, though. I have to inject, and we have to bring up Voice of Peace. Voice of Peace on the boat. Offshore, they played, and I listened to them in 1974, 1976. That's all I listened to. So much British, like they were British centric more than
I think most of the announcers there and the editors were English, so
and Israelis all listened to that. It wasn't just Americans. It wasn't at all.
They introduced a lot of music. Eddie Nathan, R.I.P. That was really something special because in England they had Radio Caroline, and in Israel they had the Voice of Peace, which was like an illegal pirate music station, but they can play. They played the Dead probably every once in a while.
We model ourselves after their business model of pirate radio.
It's less rocky where you're at, right? Less rocky.
I don't know. We've had some rocking time.
We don't
need to go like that.
Yeah, right. Exactly. We got to shuckle. We got to shuckle a little bit. So I have a serious question for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Being so involved with the Grateful Dead music, the lyrics, what do you think the message is?
The message of their music,
or Jerry. Let's say, what was Jerry's message? What comes through, and like, what are you passing along? Because it's all about Masorah,
that we can talk, and they have seminars, and they have thesis and doctorates about these things. I think Jerry would laugh about it. I don't think if you pose that question to him, he would have the one big ultimate answer. So, each person can take whatever he wants from it. I'm not looking for the big answers. I can say that as a musician, it taught me a lot about playing with people, listening to people, go to places that are sometimes unexpected when you play, that you don't know what you're gonna play, and maybe you'll make a mistake, but it's okay. I'm talking just from a musician point of view,
That's a
and
good message. I like that
yes,
message.
it's okay to take the song and make it 12 minutes long if it's cool, if it sounds good, and it's okay to make little mistakes. Each one of the musicians, it's fine. So yeah, that's what I took, and just experiment and just be accessible to the crowd, be accessible to the audience. I don't want to talk about love and peace, and I don't think each person can. It's like the Torah or the whatever New Testament Bible can take whatever you want from it. Buddhism, can take whatever you want from it. And obviously, it's not about hate and war, right? And mean spiritedness, obviously. But that's what you can play the song differently every time. Nobody's going to be mad at you because it's not, because there's not, in most of the songs, there's not one like definite article, you know what I mean? I try to explain to musicians that ask me, say, it's not like, if I give the example of like Hotel California or Stairway to Heaven, so there's like one monolithic, definitive version, and if you stray away from it, it sounds strange. In the Dead, there's so many versions that they play that whatever you play is okay, because they probably played it like that at one time or another. You understand?
Right.
It's not
right.
like one version that you have to go by or stick to it.
Right. It's very organic.
And you can play it Irish style. Yeah, we did on the record. We did "אני יודע שתתגעגעי אליי מאוד," like I know your rider gonna miss me when I'm gone, and my partner Ami plays an oud solo. Oud, the instrument.
Yeah, sure.
The oud. We recorded it in Jaffa. It was very appropriate. So he plays an oud solo, and so this thing could only have happened here.
Right.
And we had the muazzin, the speakers, in Jaffa coming through the window, and I told him, leave it open, let it go into the recording, like this kind of stuff. So this can happen here, you know what I mean?
We listen to this 5 times a day in undisclosed Studio B because of the location.
Oh yeah, but you know what? I like hearing the muezzin because I feel like that's what the Middle East is supposed to sound like.
Right.
I
always know when it's mincha.
And walking through the streets.
It brings you to the here and now.
Yeah, it is right.
To reality.
Right. When we first moved here, I lived in Rechavia. I didn't hear the muezzin. Maybe once on a Friday, if it was quiet, you'd hear something in the distance. And then we moved out here next to here in Armon.
I know where you are.
Yeah, exactly. And I hear it all the time. But I feel like this is the Middle East.
It's an organic sound. It's an organic sound.
And the Grateful Dead were definitely were organic. And I know someone who's just now getting exposed to the Grateful Dead, and this person comes from a classical background, and it's very interesting to get the take on the music, what's pleasant, what's not pleasant. It's very nice to hear that. But my first comment was that I think Bruce Hornsby said that when he started playing with the Dead, he realized he had to forget everything he ever knew about playing the piano.
Yes, it's true. It's true.
All the rules don't apply. All the rules don't apply.
Yes, it completely changed the way that I play. Really as a guitarist and as a singer. Because a lot of their contemporaries were people that just shouting. And it's okay, screaming and shouting, Led Zeppelin, and Paul Rogers, and Rush, and and the way Jerry sang is completely different, and the way they played is completely different. So there isn't like one solo that you can like. It's not Dire Straits, and I love Dire Straits, but you gotta play the solo as it is, otherwise
Right.
it ruins the song. And here, play whatever, as long as it's within the spirit.
Right.
And,
And it's funny because with those well-known solos, everybody knows those records so well that
Yes.
if you mess it up, everybody knows it.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Right? Yeah, everybody knows it. So you really
It's
the
one
pressure.
definitive recording, and that's it. And
The
then
pressure is
also-
on. The pressure
Yes,
is on.
yeah.
You know,
An Israeli radio personality. An Israeli radio personality asked me off the record, off mic. Okay, when the mics were turned off, he asked me, "Can you explain to me what the whole mystique, allure, whatever this band is?" And I said, "Look, if you had gone, or me, or I had gone to a concert by a great artist, really like Metallica, or Paul Simon, or Eric Clapton, or Sting, or whatever, and the concert would be too long, and they forget lyrics, and they play songs that you don't know, and they won't play the hits, and they won't speak to the audience, and there'll be no special effects, and the show would be 3.5 hours. You'd never want to see this artist ever again. You curse him, and you go away, and that's it. But in the dead world, you keep coming back and coming back and coming back.
3 hours is a short show.
That's right.
But also, let's admit it, they had bad shows, terrible shows, whatever, mediocre shows, but it didn't stop. It didn't stop the audience from coming back and back and coming back and coming back.
And I tell you what, sometimes
that's the magic. That's the magic.
Right. And there are times I'm playing shows that the Dead did in places like Baltimore or Cleveland or up in Montana or Missoula, Montana, all these weird places. Someplace in Texas, places I never even heard the names of these towns, and they gave those shows were just as good as shows that they played at the Garden or at the LA Forum, because it wasn't like, oh, these are the big shows and these are the practice shows. Every show was a new reality for them, and higher or lower, but and it's wonderful energy to tap into.
Yes.
It's very, very cool. So for people who are listening that want to get your music, how do we go about getting your music?
We're on Bandcamp, and if you just Bandcamp, it's a site that you can download, buy, get, whatever, listen. All the recordings are there, starting from the original album that came out in 2015, and then we have recordings of live shows, Sagol recordings from Israel and from the US also. So we recorded shows and acoustic versions, studio versions, demos that I recorded at home, just playing everything. I don't know, Catfish John, Deep Ellum Blues, whatever.
Is this under Sagol 59 or your own?
The Promised Land. The Promised Land.
It's under the Promised Land.
Yeah, you can find it easily. People.
Bandcamp, on the Promised Land on Bandcamp, and Sagol, Sagol 59 people.
Yes.
Purple.
So
Sagol.
Yeah, definitely. So so I keep adding stuff, and wherever spirit grabs me, Sugary, a Black Muddy River, Bertha, Bertha, Netta, Bertha, Netta. Okay.
Right.
Israeli name.
It works.
Tennessee Jet. What else? A lot of stuff.
Well, I'd love to play something from it a song that everybody knows and loves.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys ready for Ripple?
Yeah, sure.
Gal שקט. גל שקט.
בשמש ולחן ינוגן על נבר אין מיתר.
התשמע קולי עובר בזמר, האם אותו תנצור כאוצר יקר? ומיד שנייה
שבור קרוע, אולי מוטב אותו כלל לא לשיר.
לי זה לא אכפת, לי זה לא ידוע.
בואו שירים מלאו את האוויר, גל שקט על מים, שם שום אבן לא תיפול ורוח לא תנשוב.
הושט ידך עם כוסך ריקאי, עם הכוס מלאה, השטף לא איתם.
ורק תדע, יש מעיין נובע שלא נוצר בידי אדם, דרך ארוכה ומפותלת מעלות השחר עד חשכת הליל. ואם בה תלכי תפסעי לבד שם, כי השביל נועד רק לצדך. גל שקט על מים, שם שום אבן לא תיפול ורוח לא תנשוב. מי שיוביל ימשיך בדרך, מי שיפול יישאר בצד. מי שיעמוד אין מדריך להלך, אם אדע לאן אותך אקח ביד. לה 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 לה
Yeah.
That's great.
I have to tell you an anecdote that we recorded this album and we were a few months in 2015 and finished everything, recording everything, and then I took it to another studio to have it mixed, and it was in Florentine, in Tel Aviv, Florentine neighborhood, in Tel Aviv. And as we were finishing the mixing, I'm checking my phone, and I see on the news that the members of the Grateful Dead announced that they'll be reuniting for a few shows the fare thee well thing.
Right. Right.
So that was serendipity, whatever you call it.
Right.
Because that was we did the whole thing before the whole spiel of the fare thee well. We were not writing it, but as we were just finishing doing the final mixes of the album, it jumps, on my phone. That
Perfect
I
timing.
couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Like in the studio, I remember that moment. That the Grateful Dead announced that they would be reuniting.
Right.
So that's the
Unbelievable.
stuff that happens. That's stuff that happens in this universe, in this sphere.
Right. You're in the right. You're doing the right thing when things like that happen. Like you're just right
a lot
on
of things
target.
that have. This project was not meant for any public consumption or whatever. I just had a chance meeting with Ami at the Dancing Camel. The Dancing Camel in Tel Aviv bar.
I've heard of it. I've never been there. I've heard of it.
Craft beer, and we sat next to each other and we started to talk, and then say, okay, let's do it. Let's record it. Let's if you're doing it, let's and we started doing it and recorded really fast. 2-3 months it was finished. So
I
the
don't
whole
remember.
thing just rolled.
I don't remember all the songs on the album, but have you tackled any of the Dylan songs that the Dead used to cover?
No, I tried to focus on Garcia Hunter. I didn't want to stray. I mean, obviously, I do Me and My Uncle, which is Ani Badochli.
Right, it was
John Phillips.
John Phillips, right?
The Dead made it their own. I didn't want to venture into Dylan territory because that's a whole different thing. So I tried to focus really on Jerry and Hunter.
And there's plenty of material there. I mean, there's plenty of material there to focus on.
I mean, I did some of the traditional stuff, like I Know You Rider. We did Mama Tribe, Ima Nista, Ima Nista. בין 21 בכלא, לעולם בלי חנינה, לחנך אותי היטב, אמא ניסתה, כן היא ניסתה, היא רצתה רק לעזור לי, וסירבתי בחוצפה, והכל באשמתי, אמא ניסתה.
It flows.
Yeah.
Right?
Such a good translator.
Right.
Yes,
it just flows.
because Ima and Mama, it's the same.
Right. It
So
just flows.
So when I figured out in the middle of the things that when you find a phrase that is right, you have the whole song, like we did with Tennessee and we did with Kfar Hanassi, or like Sugary, so Metukati. Like my sweet. And so once you find it, like Mama Tried, Ima Nista, that's it. You have the song. If it goes hard, leave it. If it's hard, put it aside. Go for it. So you count syllables.
I have a question about how you choose, geographical areas, like in Me and My Uncle, like I'm as honest as a Denver man.
Yeah.
What's the Israeli equivalent of Denver?
Like me, I did Netanya, but because
Netanya. I'm as honest as a dude from Netanya can be, and we know what that means.
אני הגון כמו שנתניאתי יכול להיות. Okay, so but the song is about Mitzpe Ramon, the desert, the Negev, the Ofakim, because the song is like a cowboy song. But yes, right. I decided two things when I started. First of all, I need to make it phonetically legitimate, so it would maybe sound a bit like the original. And I'm going to sing about Israeli places and sceneries and characters. I'm not going to sing about Utah and Wichita and Iowa and whatever, Reno, because
that's what makes it so great. Like you've got a wife in Ramla and one in where?
נהלל. יש אישה ברמלה, יש אישה בנהלל, אומרת שעשינו בן, אבל הוא לא דומה לי בכלל. You know,
Right.
it's like
It
don't look
works.
That
like
It
works
me.
so
works.
well.
It works.
So it works. So like Chino and Cherokee, I don't know. Just but two places are really separate from each other. And,
But Ramla is like Chino. That's the thing. Like, I don't even know
Yeah,
if you
and
know
the
how
Keller,
right that
yeah.
is. And I'm
No,
I'm
and-
in
yes.
California, and I
Yeah, but
really
you
know.
have to understand something. A lot of the Americans, a lot of
There's
the
a
East Coast
prison in
Americans
Ramle.
didn't know
There's a
where these
prison.
places were either. You
There's a
know?
prison in Ramle, and Chino is also a prison. So
Nachon.
you know, there's Keller Ramle, like Ramle prison. You know, so
Right.
you know, not to take it too seriously, but you know, it's like so yeah. So many of these songs are you know, תחזור הביתה אל הגליל, תחזור הביתה אל הגולן, you know, נולדתי בנגב, you know, I was born in the desert,
Right.
בגוב האריות, Steve, you know what it is, right? In the lion's den.
The Lions Den,
Yeah.
right. Right.
והמקצוע שלמדתי, לגנוב לכם את הבחורות. Right? The occupation that I learned is to steal your girls, steal your women, right?
Right. I want you to know I was at a dead show in Colorado,
Yeah.
and somebody sits down next to me, and I was wearing
Yeah.
a kippah, and they're
Yeah.
playing Samson and Delilah. And this guy sits down next to me, goes, "Tell me the story. You must know the story."
He didn't know the story?
No, he just knew it was a Bible story. This guy didn't. And I
wow.
looked at him. I said, "Can you wait till the song's over?" You know. Anyway.
It's like a
Okay.
Kirov story. It's literally a Kirov story.
Yeah.
Steve Levine.
I gotta say to Jeff that responded here on Facebook
Yes.
that I'm with him, and the Grateful Dead T-shirts that have been they've been selling in Israel for the last 40 years. The transliteration is wrong. The writing is wrong because they write grateful and then Dalet, Aleph, Dalet. So it's Grateful Dad. Okay, so I don't know why they put the Aleph there. It's Grateful Dad. Okay, so watch for it. I know a lot of Americans buy it, but you know, just make one yourself.
What would it? Right. What would you? How would you spell dead? How would you spell it?
Dalet, Dalet. Yeah, Dalet, Dalet.
No,
That's how they-
Dalet, Dalet.
That's how they've always written it in the press, online. But only the shirts have grateful and yes, not Ein. No, Jeff. Ein is in Yiddish. Grateful Dead. No, not Ein, Dalet, Dalet. Yes,
Although,
yes.
if you have a Grateful Dad T-shirt, it's good for Father's Day.
Yes, exactly, Jeff. Dalet. You're right. Now he's got it. Okay, so Dalet. Gimel Resh Yud Yud Tet Pei Vav Lamed. Dalet. If you put a I in there and it's Yiddish, but you know most Israelis don't know Yiddish. So
The next thing is the Grateful Dead Yiddish.
Although
That's next.
the Grateful Dead, were on a stamp, I think, in Czechoslovakia or somewhere.
Yeah.
And also one of the basketball teams had like a Grateful
Lithuania.
Dead. There you go. Not Czechoslovakia, Lithuania.
Latvia.
Right. Yeah, they had a Grateful Dead
Lithuania.
insignia on their T-shirts or something. You know,
Lithuania.
so yeah. So
But
hey.
I wanted to say to Jeff, in Hebrew, it's not Hametim Hamodim. Usually they used to write it in the 60s, 70s, Met Asir Toda. Okay, Met Asir Toda is if you're grateful for something. So they used to write Hamatos Shel Jefferson, okay? Metoso Shel Jefferson airplane, okay? Country
Hamatos
Joe
Shel
Behadagim, Country Joe and the fish. Yes, Met Asir Toda, you know. And so so that's how they called them. They used to translate their names. So like Chiyat Mei Ha'emunah Hazakim, Creedence Clearwater Revival.
and the Beatles were
Chipushiyot.
right, the bugs, the bugs, right?
Chipushiyot.
So wrong.
Chipushiyot. No, yeah, Beatle is Chipushit, but they used to call them Chipushiyot HaKetzel, which is like the Beatles, you know, the Beatles with the beat, because you know it's copyrighted. You can't, you know. So yeah, so that's the story of Met Asir Toda. You know.
So you're having fun doing all this. You're still having fun doing all this.
Yeah, great fun, and I'm a sucker of finding stuff that Jerry and other people have played on that hang on. The guy that was at the Film Release show, 1970. Wow. I see on Facebook. Yes, I find things, if you dig in, and it never ends. It never ends, Dave Bromberg and Sanjay Mishra and whatever, he played with so many, and the Jimmy Rogers tribute and, Tony Rice and all that. So it's endless.
Yes.
And Mickey records. But not Bobby and the Midnights. Don't listen to that, kids. Do not listen to that.
I want you to know something. I want you to know something that I saw them live. I have to say, I saw Kingfish. That was another one of Bob.
That's something else. Yeah.
Right.
Something
I saw Kingfish, but it was just because the Dead weren't touring, so you had to catch Garcia when he came around, and you had to catch Bobby when he came around. But it wasn't anything to write home.
I'll tell you how I know that Bobby and the Midnights. I have the records. I have the vinyl records at home just because I had to have it, But I'll tell you how I know that it's not that good, because Bobby never plays anything from this. So if he doesn't play anything from
right, why should we bother?
They play stuff from Ace, which is 10 years prior, but not from
Ace was really a Grateful Dead album, even though it was, they were the band on Ace, so it was just another version of the Grateful Dead.
So it's the chemistry that make it. I was 3 years ago. I was in New York, and I watched 2 Dead and Company shows, night after night. I was at City Field in Queens. So
that must have been great.
So so I realized, the whole gestalt of the whole thing. When you see it, when you see Bobby, when you see the whole what's going on there and how he conducts everything, you really got to admire the guy. Really. And
also, John Mayer, he's not trying to be Jerry. He's, when I listen to Dead and Company shows, I listen to the audio, he's really trying to just play the music. He's trying to do what the music demands, not trying to stand there and say, okay, look, I can play Jerry better than Jerry.
He probably stepped into the biggest shoes ever since Adam Lambert steps into Freddie Mercury's shoes. Not to compare, but legends.
Right. I heard the shows in Chicago and in California, the Dead, when they got back together. I'm not going to try to knock Trey, but I don't think he did as good a job as John Mayer's doing. So,
but you also have to take into consideration that the Mayer has by now performed hundreds of times.
Yes, that's right.
And Trey and Anastasia only did 5 shows. So.
5 shows, I know.
Whatever, it's all chemistry.
Yeah, it's all rock and roll, and we love it.
I gotta say that in the show that I saw, the most moving bit was Otel singing "Comes a Time." That was
really
Comes a Time. Yes, that was very, very. I don't know why, but he's a great singer too. Like that minute that he sang "Comes a Time," that was for me the most moving bit of the concert. But each his own,
Yeah, it's a beautiful song. Song. Okay, so I think we're going to wrap it up. This has been a pleasure having you with us, concluding our 9 days of Jerry.
All the guys that asked on Facebook, this is what you should be looking for, okay?
Look for that, people. Find it on Bandcamp.
And listen, B'li Ayin Hara, when things get settled and we know where we can play outside or not outside,
sure.
You're going to have to come and jam with my band. We're doing this music in our style. We'd love to just put it together and have a party. Yes. So
call me. I'll get my guitar and I get over.
It may take a while, but I don't forget us, and I won't forget you.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me. Thank you very
Always much. A pleasure. Always a pleasure. Come back again next year. B'li Ayin Hara.
Bye.
Yeah, next year's our bar mitzvah. Next year's going to be a big party.
Yeah, next year.
Our bar mitzvah year,
Right. So today is the last day, but tomorrow is Isser Jerry. So we are going to be driving this bus all the way through the end of the broadcast day in Israel, at least. And then when I take over, which is 10 hours after in Israel time, we'll continue. And we just have more, we have more Jerry to love to share. That's why we need Isru Jerry, because like Isru Chag, of course, it's just like God singing, stay just a little bit longer.
That's right. You can't, after all 9 days, you just can't walk away,
That's
So,
right. Got to stay behind and have one last encore. And speaking of that, we'll go out with the Promised Land's version of Brown-Eyed Women. And again, people, I want to encourage you to go to our fundraising link. That's right. And GoFundMe, our fundraising link. Throw some change into our virtual Kadar case. Help keep Steve and I from having to dig deeper even into our own pockets to pay our monthly overhead by giving a small but significant amount. We want to thank for everybody who's been giving their wonderful donations of all sizes to us. Every little bit helps. So, we're not asking for a lot. We're not PBS. We don't have a multi-million-dollar budget. We try to raise a couple of $1,000s every year.
You want to give us a multi-million-dollar, we'll take it.
We'll take it, and we'll buy all.
We'll create the budget,
That's right. We will redo both Studio A and B, but for right now, we just want to keep the lights on. And should a technological emergency arise, I was trying to count the other day how many laptops I've gone through since starting Radio Free Nachlaot, counting the ones that were stolen when I lived in Nachlaot in the great Nachlaot home robberies of 2010 and 2011.
Yes.
And I literally have lost count. But, Steve and I have both had to replace our broadcast software and hardware a few times over the last 12 years of
Which is not
operating
bad.
24/6, people. That's a lot of strain on a computer. I don't think that people actually hop and understand what we do, that we literally both have our computers on running 24/6, and we're throwing the broadcast stream back and forth. Steve takes it, 12 hours later, I take it. And this has been going on since 2009. We're obviously the only people insane enough to do something like this. When I explain the technology to people and how we've been doing this, nobody barely believes it. They're like, what? Are you crazy?
It sounds like my army service, only harder.
Yeah, well, but at this point, if like for some reason I have to turn the radio off earlier, I don't start it like on time, I feel like I didn't take care of the kid properly, it's like I've abandoned my child,
It's our baby that's never going to get out of diapers because we can never leave it alone.
But you know what?
So we have to have a babysitter all the time.
It's wonderful to be able to do this. We appreciate all the help doing it. And we get to do shows like this once in a while. So, we're not complaining.
We're not
just
complaining. We're just asking for your support.
Just grateful. We're
Thanks
just
for
grateful.
playing the song. I have to sign off. So
Okay,
next
thank
time.
you. We're going to
Steve,
play
bye.
it right now, and then we'll say
Bye.
goodbye.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
Lehitraot.
Bye.
עברו הימים שהשור מעד, לקחת את המחרשה ועבדת לבד. עברו הימים שהבנות אמרו פליז, ינקלה כהן נו תבוא אצלי. נשים חומות עין וכוס גרנדין, הבקבוק מלוכלך אבל היין נקי. קולות של רעם וגשם כבד, והאיש הזקן עוד מתמודד. 29 הוא נכנס אל הפאב, שתה ליטר וויסקי ישר מהכד. שנת 30 והבריטים בפנים, הוא מכר להם ג'ין שמרחיב אישונים. נשים חומות עין וכוס גרנדין, הבקבוק מלוכלך אבל היין נקי. קולות של רעם וגשם והאיש הזקן עוד מתמודד. הכהן עשתה תאומים פעמיים והשאר לא חוקים. היינו 8 רק אני הפושטק, לא נתנו לי עם החגורה מספיק חזק. נשים חומות עין וכוס גרנדין, הבקבוק מלוכלך אבל היין נקי. קולות של רעם וגשם כבד, והאיש הזקן עוד מתמודד. צריף עץ ישן בעמק חפר קרס בשלג של שנת 50. טליה כהן הלכה בדרך כל בשר, והזקן שוב לא היה אותו הדבר. אבא בישל וויסקי עם המון כישרון, עלה 2 לירות ושרף את הגרון. חטבתי עצים בשביל המזקקות, שותה בקבוק וויסקי והולך מכות. נשים חומות עין וכוס גרנדין, הבקבוק מלוכלך אבל היין נקי. קולות של רעם וגשם כבד, והאיש הזקן עוד מתמודד. עברו הימים שהשור מעד, אז לקחת את המחרשה ועבדת לבד. עברו הימים שבחורות אמרו פליז, ינקלה כהן נו תבוא אצלי. נשים חומות עין וכוס גרנדין, הבקבוק מלוכלך אבל היין נקי. קולות של רעם וגשם כבד, והאיש הזקן עוד מתמודד. והאיש הזקן עוד מתמודד.
That's it for us, folks. Thank you for listening and watching to Radio Free Nachlaot. See you on the radio, and happy 9 days of Jerry.